Settle in and prepare to discover the astonishing life of Saint Padre Pio, a saint whose wounds spoke of heaven and whose heart belonged completely to God. Please like, share and subscribe for more stories. Before the world knew him as Padre Pio, before thousands crossed oceans to seek his prayers, he was simply a frail boy named Francesco Fagioni, born on May 25, 1887, in the small village of Pietrelcina in southern Italy. The village was poor. Dusty roads wound between stone houses, and most families struggled to survive. Yet in one humble home, something extraordinary was unfolding. From an early age, Francesco seemed different. While other children spent their days playing in the fields, he often preferred silence and prayer. His mother noticed him speaking softly when no one else was around. "Who are you talking to?" she asked. "The angels," the little boy replied. At first, she smiled. Children have vivid imaginations. But as the years passed, Francesco continued describing encounters with Jesus, the Virgin Mary, and his guardian angel with remarkable clarity. He later revealed that he could see spiritual realities hidden from ordinary eyes. Yet these heavenly experiences came with terrifying trials. At night, strange noises filled his room. He would awaken frightened, feeling attacked by unseen forces. Years later, he explained that evil spirits often tormented him, attempting to discourage his path toward God. The battle between light and darkness had begun long before the world knew his name. As a teenager, Francesco felt a powerful calling. One day, while praying, he sensed Christ inviting him to dedicate his entire life to God. The invitation burned within his soul. At 15, he entered the Capuchin Franciscan order, taking the name Brother Pio in honor of Pope Pius I. The journey was far from easy. His health was fragile. He suffered mysterious illnesses that puzzled doctors. At times, his condition became so severe that many feared he would not survive. Some suggested he abandon religious life altogether. But Brother Pio refused. Every pain seemed to strengthen his determination. After years of formation, he was ordained a priest in 1910. As Father Pio celebrated Mass for the first time, few could have imagined the astonishing destiny awaiting him. Hidden beneath the simple robes of a village priest, a great mystery was already taking shape. Then came the First World War. Europe was engulfed in bloodshed. Nations collided. Millions suffered. While soldiers fought on battlefields, Father Pio fought a different war, a spiritual battle that intensified with each passing year. He spent countless hours praying for souls. Witnesses noticed something unusual. When he prayed, it seemed as though he was speaking directly with heaven. People began arriving from neighboring towns seeking his counsel. Many left transformed. Yet no one knew that an event was approaching, an event so shocking that it would make headlines across the world. A moment that would turn an unknown priest into one of the most mysterious figures in Christian history. On a quiet morning in 1918, while praying before a crucifix, Father Pio experienced something that would change his life forever. And when he looked down at his hands, he saw blood. September 20th, 1918. The First World War was nearing its end. In the small monastery of San Giovanni Rotondo, Father Pio knelt alone in prayer before a crucifix. Suddenly, a powerful vision overwhelmed him. He later described seeing a mysterious heavenly figure bearing the marks of Christ's passion. The experience filled him with both joy and intense suffering. When the vision faded, Father Pio looked down in shock. His hands were bleeding. So were his feet. A painful wound had appeared in his side. The marks resembled the wounds Jesus received during his crucifixion. In Christian tradition, such wounds are called the stigmata. News spread rapidly. Pilgrims, journalists, doctors, skeptics, and church officials all wanted answers. Could this be real? Doctors examined the wounds repeatedly. They observed that the injuries remained open yet resisted infection. For decades they continued to bleed. Some believed immediately. Others accused him of deception. The controversy grew so intense that church authorities launched investigations. For Padre Pio, the attention became a heavy burden. He never sought fame. In fact, he often tried to hide the wounds beneath gloves. But the crowds kept coming. People traveled for days simply to attend his Mass. Many described his celebrations of the Eucharist as unforgettable. Witnesses said he prayed with such intensity that it seemed he was standing at the foot of Calvary itself. Yet alongside admiration came suffering. New accusations emerged. Rumors circulated. Some questioned his visions. Others doubted his spiritual gifts. At one point, restrictions were placed on his public ministry. He was forbidden from certain activities and endured years of scrutiny. Many would have become bitter. Padre Pio did not. Instead, he accepted the humiliation in silence. Pray, hope, and don't worry. He frequently told those who sought his guidance. The phrase became one of his most famous teachings. Meanwhile, extraordinary reports continued to spread. Countless people claimed that he knew details about their lives before they spoke. Others reported miraculous healings after his prayers. Some even claimed to have seen him appear in distant places while he remained physically in the monastery, a phenomenon known as bilocation. Whether people came seeking miracles or answers, they encountered something undeniable, a priest completely devoted to God. But perhaps his greatest work was still ahead. Padre Pio looked beyond the crowds and saw a deeper need. The sick, the poor, the forgotten. He dreamed of building a hospital that would serve suffering people regardless of wealth or status. Many thought the idea impossible. The monastery was small. Resources were scarce. Yet Padre Pio believed that if the work belonged to God, God would provide. What happened next would become one of the greatest achievements of his life. And as the years passed, the world would discover that the priest with bleeding hands possessed a heart even larger than his mysteries. By the middle of the 20th century, Padre Pio had become one of the most recognized priests in the world. Pilgrims arrived in endless waves, rich and poor, young and old, believers and skeptics, all hoping for a moment with the humble Capuchin friar. Yet despite international fame, Padre Pio remained remarkably simple. He rose early. He prayed constantly. He heard confessions for long hours each day. And he continued encouraging everyone with the same message. Pray, hope, and don't worry. His greatest earthly project became reality in 1956. Against all expectations, the Casa Solivo della Sofferenza, home for the relief of suffering, opened its doors. More than a hospital, it was an act of love. Padre Pio wanted every patient to feel seen, valued, and cared for. Many called it one of the finest medical centers in Europe. For him, it was simply a way to serve Christ through the suffering. As the years passed, age began to weaken his body. The wounds he had carried for decades continued to cause pain. Yet he never stopped praying for others. Then came September 1968. Padre Pio was 81 years old. His strength was fading. Thousands sensed that the end was near. On September 22nd, he celebrated what would be his final Mass. The next day, shortly after midnight, he quietly repeated the names of Jesus and Mary. Then, peacefully, he died. The news spread across the globe. The priest who had comforted millions was gone, or so it seemed. Soon after his death, another mystery emerged. The wounds that had marked his body for 50 years reportedly disappeared, leaving little visible trace. For many believers, it was one final sign pointing toward the extraordinary life he had lived. Yet Padre Pio's influence only grew stronger. Pilgrims continued visiting his monastery. Stories of answered prayers multiplied. His writings and teachings inspired new generations. In 1999, he was declared blessed by Pope John Paul II. Then, on June 16, 2002, before hundreds of thousands gathered in Rome, he was canonized as Saint Padre Pio. The Church officially recognized what countless people had already believed. The humble boy from Pietrelcina had become a saint. But perhaps the true legacy of Padre Pio is not found in the stigmata, the visions, or the miracles. It is found in his unwavering faith, in his patience during suffering, in his love for the forgotten, and in the simple words that continue to echo across the world. Pray, hope, and don't worry. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.